I'm 76 years old, and I spent most of my life preparing for something that never arrived. I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean I literally organized my entire existence around a moment I was certain would come, a threshold I would cross, after which everything would begin. The real part, the living part, the part I was saving myself for. I'm not sure when I started thinking this way. Maybe it was always there. But I can tell you when I finally understood what I had done. 3 years ago, I was cleaning out my garage. Not because I wanted to, but because my daughter said she was worried about me, living alone in a house full of what she called accumulation. That's a kind word for it. I had boxes I hadn't opened in 30 years, tools still in their packaging, travel guides for trips I bookmarked but never took. And in one of those boxes, I found a notebook. It was from 1981. I would have been 33. The pages were filled with my handwriting, and I didn't recognize it at first. Neater than it is now, more careful. I had written out a kind of plan, goals, timelines, things I wanted to do, learn Italian, spend a year abroad, write something, anything that wasn't a report, visit the places my grandparents came from before everyone who remembered them was gone. At the bottom of the last page, I had written a sentence that stopped me cold. When I have enough saved, I'll start. I sat down on a crate in that garage, and I stayed there for I don't know how long, because I realized something. I had written that sentence 42 years earlier, and I had never stopped believing it. I just kept moving the line. Enough. I had a good job. 41 years at the same company, different titles, steady raises. I wasn't wealthy, but I was comfortable. More than comfortable, really. I had a pension, savings, a house that's been paid off for 20 years. And I had nothing. I don't mean possessions. I had plenty of those. I mean I had nothing that felt like mine. Nothing that I had done just because I wanted to. Every decision I made was in service to some future version of myself who would finally be ready. Finally have enough. Finally be secure. That version never showed up. People my age, we were taught certain things. Or maybe we taught ourselves. I don't know anymore. But there was this idea that being responsible meant delaying. That adulthood was about sacrifice. That you earned the right to enjoy your life by first proving you could endure it. So we endured. And I was good at it. Very good. I could deny myself things without even feeling it. I'd walk past a restaurant I wanted to try and think, not today. I'd see an advertisement for a trip somewhere beautiful and think, maybe after I retire. I had a friend who invited me to go sailing in Greece in 1989. He was going with 3 other people, and they needed a 4th. I said no. Too expensive. Too much time off work. Too risky to spend money on something that wouldn't last. He went. He said it changed his life. I don't know what that means exactly. But I know he seemed different after. Lighter. I told myself he was being irresponsible. That I was the smart one. That I'd have my turn eventually. I never had my turn. Because there is no turn. There's no finish line you cross, where someone hands you permission. Nobody is keeping track of how much you've sacrificed. Nobody is going to tap you on the shoulder when you finally earned the right to exist. I waited for a signal that was never coming. The thing about waiting is that it feels productive. You tell yourself you're being strategic, you're planning, you're setting yourself up for something better. And that story is very convincing. It kept me convinced for 40 years. But waiting is its own kind of action. You're not pressing pause. You're choosing every single day to put something off. and each day you choose that, you're spending the only thing you actually have. I didn't understand this. I thought time was something I could accumulate, like money. I thought if I was careful with it, if I didn't waste it, I'd have more of it later. I thought the years I didn't use would roll over into some account I could draw from when I was ready. That's not how it works. There was a woman. I don't talk about her much, because there's not much to say. We worked in the same building for 6 years, different departments, but we'd cross paths. Coffee room, parking garage, the lobby when it rained and everyone was waiting for it to let up. Her name was Sandra. We talked, not about anything important at first, just small things. Observations about the weather, about co-workers, about nothing at all. But I liked her, more than liked her. There was something in the way she paid attention to things that made me want to pay attention too. I never asked her to dinner, not once, in 6 years. I told myself I was being smart. I didn't want to complicate things at work. I wanted to wait until the timing was right. I wanted to have more to offer, a better apartment, a promotion, something that would make me worthy of asking. She transferred to another office in 1986. I heard she got married a few years later. I don't know to whom. I don't know if she's still alive. And here's the part that's hard to admit. I don't even know if she would have said yes. Maybe she would have said no. Maybe we would have gone on one awkward dinner and realized we had nothing. Maybe it wouldn't have been anything at all. But I didn't find out. Because finding out would have meant risking something. And I couldn't risk anything that might disturb the future I was so carefully protecting. I protected it right into nothing. My wife, I did eventually marry. In 91. She's been gone for 8 years now. We had a good life. I don't want to pretend we didn't. But it was a careful life. We were careful people. We saved. We planned. We talked about things we'd do someday. Someday, we'd travel. Someday, we'd buy that little place by the water. Someday, we'd learn to dance properly. We kept saying someday until she got sick. And then there was no more someday. There was just treatments and appointments and hoping. And then there wasn't even that. She died in February, a Tuesday. It was raining, and I remember thinking how wrong that seemed, like the weather should know what was happening. And after she was gone, I sat in our house, the one we'd lived in for almost 30 years, and I looked around at all the things we'd saved. The good china we never used because we were saving it for special occasions. The guest room nobody ever slept in because we didn't want to mess it up. The wine from our anniversary trip that we kept saying we'd open when the time was right. I opened it that night, alone. It had turned. That's what waiting does. Things turn. Opportunities spoil. People leave. Moments close. You think you're preserving something by holding back, but you're just watching it decay. I have a brother, younger by 4 years. We were never close, not really, but we weren't enemies either. Just distant. A few years ago, maybe 2019, he called me and asked if I wanted to take a trip with him. A road trip. Like we'd talked about when we were kids, but never did. He said he was getting older, and he wanted to do something with me before one of us wasn't able. I said it wasn't a good time. He said he understood. He died in 2021. Heart gave out. Just like that. And I never took that trip with him. What would it have cost me? Really? A few $1,000s? A week of my time? I have both of those things in abundance now, and nobody to spend them with. Heart gave out. just like that. And I never took that trip with him. I still think about it. Not every day, but often enough. What would it have cost me? Really? A few $1,000s? A week of my time? I have both of those things in abundance now, and nobody to spend them with. The money didn't protect me from anything. It just sits there, a number in an account that grows slightly smaller each month because I still don't spend it. There's something else. I've noticed that people my age, we talk about regret in a certain way. We say things like, I wish I had traveled more, or I wish I had taken more risks. But that's not really what we mean. That's the polished version, the version you say at dinner parties. What we really regret is harder to name. It's not the things we didn't do. It's the person we didn't become. I look at myself now, and I see someone who never quite arrived. I spent so long preparing to live that I never learned how. I don't know what I actually like because I never let myself find out. I don't know what kind of person I would have been if I hadn't been so afraid of making mistakes, of being impractical, of not having enough. I don't know who I am when I'm not being careful, and it's probably too late to find out. That sounds dramatic. I know it does. I'm not dying, not that I know of. My health is reasonable. I could have another 10 years, maybe more. But there's a kind of calcification that happens when you've lived a certain way for too long. The grooves get deep. The patterns set. I try to do things differently now, I really do. Last year, I booked a trip to Italy, the one I'd written about in that notebook in 1981. I was going to finally learn the language, finally see where my grandfather was born. I canceled it 3 weeks before departure. I told myself it was because of my knee. It had been bothering me, but that wasn't true. I was scared. After 73 years of waiting, I didn't know how to stop. That's the cruelest part. The waiting becomes who you are. You tell yourself it's temporary, a phase, something you're doing until you're ready. But it rewires you. It becomes your operating system. And by the time you realize what's happened, you've forgotten how to want things. You've forgotten how to move toward something without first calculating whether you can afford to lose it. I see young people now, my grandchildren, their friends. They're anxious, a lot of them. Worried about money, about jobs, about the future. I understand that. The world is harder than it was, more uncertain. But I watch them put things off. I hear them say, when I'm more stable, or when I have more saved, or when the timing is better. And I want to say something, but what would I say? Be reckless, spend everything, stop planning. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that the waiting doesn't protect you. It feels like it does. It feels like you're being responsible. But all you're doing is trading the present for a future that isn't guaranteed. And here's the thing, even if the future comes, even if you make it to 76 like I did, you won't be the same person. The things you wanted at 35, you might not want anymore. The people you were saving your best self for might be gone. The body you were waiting to use might not work the way it did. You're not stockpiling time, you're spending it. Every single day, whether you do anything with it or not. I spent mine on safety, on caution, on being reasonable, and now I have all this safety and nothing to protect. My daughter asked me last month what I wanted for my birthday. I didn't know what to say. I don't want anything. Not things, anyway. What I want is to go back and tell myself that the preparation was supposed to be for something, that the waiting was supposed to end. But you can't go back. All you can do is sit in a garage, surrounded by unopened boxes, holding a notebook full of plans you never executed, and understand, finally, what you did. There's a specific memory that comes back to me sometimes. I was maybe 40. My son was 8. He wanted to build a tree house. Not a complicated one, just some boards in the old oak in the backyard. He was so excited about it, had drawn pictures, talked about it constantly. I told him we'd do it when I had more time, maybe next summer. We'd plan it out properly, get the right materials, do it right. Next summer came. I was busy with a project at work. I told him we'd do it the year after. We never built that tree house. The tree came down in a storm in '94. By then, he was in high school. He didn't care about tree houses anymore. He didn't care about much of what I had to offer by then. I keep that drawing he made. It's in one of those boxes, a crooked rectangle in a tree, stick figures of me and him standing next to it. That's what waiting costs you. Not abstract things, specific things, a treehouse, a trip, a conversation you meant to have, a person you meant to become. I don't have advice. I'm not sure I'm even entitled to give it, given how I've lived. But I can tell you what I know now. The waiting is the thing. The waiting is your life. Every day you spend preparing is a day you spend. Every year you save for later is a year you use. And you don't get it back. I thought I was being responsible. I thought I was doing it right. I was just afraid. That's all it was. Fear dressed up in reasonable clothes. Fear of failing. Fear of losing what I had. Fear of finding out that the life I wanted wasn't waiting for me after all. So I never looked. And now I'm 76. And there's no one left to wait for. Nothing left to wait for. And I still don't know how to stop. The notebook is on my desk now. I keep it there so I see it every morning. Not because it motivates me. It doesn't. It just reminds me what I did. There's a line I read somewhere. I don't remember where. It said something like, "The tragedy isn't dying. The tragedy is what dies inside you while you're still alive." I don't know what died inside me. That would require knowing what was there to begin with. And I never let myself find out. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Not what to do. Just what I did and what it cost. Maybe you'll do something different. I hope you do. But hoping isn't the same as believing, because I've seen this before. I've watched my friends do the same thing. I've watched my children start to do it. The pattern is so strong. We convince ourselves we're being smart, that we're building something, that the sacrifice will be worth it. And then one day, you're sitting in a garage, holding a notebook from 40 years ago, and you realize the person who wrote those plans is gone. And they never did any of it. They just waited. I used to think time was on my side, that I had plenty. That's what you think when you're young, maybe even when you're middle-aged. The horizon looks so far away, but it gets closer faster than you expect. And when you finally see it clearly, you understand that there was never anything to wait for. There was just the waiting itself. And the life you were saving slipped through your hands while you weren't looking. I don't know how else to say it. I thought I had time. I was wrong.